Fatima. Fatima Alimohamed is the CEO of Africa Brand Warrior, an African and Kenyan. She's an advocate for Africa and African brands with a solid track record across African markets that lead her to change from boots to heels when needed. Fatima is a thought leader in strategy, brand development, consumer relationships, marketing, and communication. Prior to being the founder and becoming the CEO of Africa Brand Warrior, she has been the GM for Wilmar Africa and has been representing the industries in various positions and boards. Fatima's passion is to create brands that make an impact. She has been a governor on the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, has been chair of the Marketing Society of Kenya, founder of Marketing Society of Tanzania and Uganda, the vice president of Chartered Institute of Marketing Kenya, and chair of the Advertising Standards Committee, vice president of Junior Chamber International, plus a member of various marketing and advertising boards across Africa. Fatima was honored with the Top 50 CMOs Global Award in Singapore, Top 100 Most Talented Marketers Global Award in India, and recently handed a citation for leadership excellence by African Women Leaders CMO Asia. Interestingly enough, she's also been honored with the Mother of Ghana Award, where she's known and styled as Queen Mother in Memia, West Ghana. Early in May 2018, she was awarded in London, United Kingdom, at two separate events for being the Inspirational Woman of the Year by Women for Africa, and also a marketing award for Women Marketer of the Year at Wintrade London. We have shared this profile and a very elaborate one previously. And I think it's just going to do justice if we request Fatima to be with us now. And Fatima, welcome. I think we will engage in further conversations to know more about you.
Thank you, Ritesh. I thought you promised me you were not going to read all that.
Trust me, I didn't read all of it.
No, but thank you very much. Thank you for reaching out. I think you probably are the only organization that reached out 3 or 4 months before, and I had to keep checking diaries before I start committing to other people. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for having me. Even though I'm not a Rotarian in membership, I'm a Rotarian at heart, because I tend to always get invited to speak to you all. And obviously, I'm not one that believes that you've got to be tied down to something to be able to continue doing service to humanity. So thank you very much for having me. And I'm also happy to see familiar faces. And I'm also happy to see Radhika, because I only follow her, on Instagram and, all the rants and everything that you guys do. So it's good to see you here as well. And obviously the coffee group that I get to meet when I go to Kenya.
Well, I think we will talk a bit about that as well later on. So Fatima, can I begin some question and answer segments with you and engage in conversation? So, like you mentioned, we were planning this talk for the longest time. And when we were thinking about what exactly we could talk about, because there's so much which we can actually talk about with you, you're very knowledgeable in a multitude of fields. So why did you choose to speak about this particular topic? Tell us.
Look, what I've been doing lately, I mean, my background is obviously first, was criminal law and psychology, then moved to marketing. I have a passion for marketing. I'm an advocate for Africa, you can tell, it felt really sad that we tend to be people who are sitting, in the background and complaining. We become complainers about everything, expecting somebody else to take action for things and do stuff. And then kaboom, this wake-up call happened, COVID came in. And then you realize that no one was prepared for it. Not governments, who are supposed to be leading nations and countries, not WHO, who is supposed to be the big organization on anything to do with medical, not business strategists, the top, whether, I don't want to mention consulting companies, best in the world, nobody had a backup plan for what's happening. And one of the things that came out in this pandemic is that, one, obviously time doesn't wait for no one, because the pandemic has clearly showed it continues to do what it does in its destruction and everything else, and it moves on. but humans stopped living and stopped doing things from fear of when things get better. Also, I was tired of all the cliches of stuff like, the new normal, because there is no new normal. Every time we do something, it is new, but that doesn't mean it's all you're doing is just improving on something that was there. It's just the next phase. For me, this whole period was about the new minimum, because you realize that we've now become people who are thinking of things in a minimum perspective. How much time do I have? What kind of quantity of products do I need to buy? Normally people would probably have gone about a 1.5 liter of something. Now they're thinking, hey, listen, I can only afford 500, or maybe I'll buy two 500s, and stuff like that. So it's become minimum movement, minimum engagements, minimum purchases. So it's not about the new normal, it's the new minimal. And seeing what was happening back home in Kenya and everywhere else, even in the first world places like America or wherever else, I just felt there was a whole fallacy, and we're not taking this thing as seriously as we could. In the start, everybody was all about humanity and, let's reach out to our neighbors. People were taking pictures to show that they're supporting somebody, but we lost the plot along the way. And it started becoming a profiteering, I don't want to call it a project, but it's become a profiteering event. It's just like another big event that's happening, and everyone's trying to see how they can quickly get on it. So as a marketer, I felt my calling is to ensure that if we're going to make social impact, then social impact has to be done in such a way where we call out the fallacies, we call out the pretentiousness, and we start putting nails to the coffin and calling things the way they really are, so that if we are going to do service to humanity, then we've got to do it the right way.
Thank you, Fatima. Actually, that makes a lot of sense, especially given the timeliness of this talk, when we are already seeing the situation getting back to square one, and many places where the COVID situation had actually died down. Now we are seeing a resurgence. And related to this, now I want to ask you: do you think that the world was prepared?
Not at all, not at all. And I don't think we're even going to be prepared, because all we're doing right now is we're putting profit before people and planet. That's what everyone's doing. And it is not only prevalent to the African continent, it's what you see happening in the first world as well. I mean, look at what's happening in America, look at the stuff that has been going on in Brazil and everywhere else. So right now, I mean, with also the rush of the vaccines, I mean, I know different people have a different view and opinion for it. We have not been ready, and I don't think we're going to be ready in a long time, because we haven't understood, for me, the core purpose of what this pandemic was supposed to be teaching us, what it's trying to showcase, what it's trying to highlight. Have we learned lessons? I mean, there are people who've been coming in and saying, oh my God, look, for the first time, there's no pollution because there was a lockdown. We can now see fish, in the rivers clearly. Oh my God, look, you can see Mount Kenya. I mean, it was all this kind of stuff. Tweeting and going on social media and stuff like that. But where's that gone now? We forget and we move on. And that clearly shows, as human beings, I keep saying we've lost the plot. We are very, I don't want to use the word transactional, but we're also very current. We're just like the news. Okay, something's trending, let's be a part of it, and then we forget about it and we move on. There is no consistency in our actions. There's no consistency in our thoughts. There's no consistency even in our purpose, So if everybody was just to sit back right now and say, okay, 2020, people want to cancel it. People don't want to even remember what, they've gone through. If they were to write down what was the one learning that they've got out of this, and what is the one change they intend to make going forward for 2021, you will see people will not be able to just make one point. They're going to put various things in there. So no, we're not prepared. We need to get back into the drawing board, and we need to revisit what is our purpose as human beings, as corporates, as organizations, as NGOs. We all need to revisit and go back to the drawing board and redefine what our purpose is, because what our purpose was then is not the purpose it is right now.
So basically, that's the learning we have to take from this.
There's a lot to learn. I mean, if you haven't lost anyone personally, then you probably don't understand the value and the impact this has had. I'm an empath, so for me, it's not about just losing people within my circle and my environment. every time another human disappears from this earth, and that also in an unreasonable manner, something that was not planned, it hurts, because today it's them, tomorrow it's me, and tomorrow it'll be my daughter, you know. So it is my purpose to ensure that I do something that's going to be able to make an impact. And I mean, I commend organizations like Rotary, you know, that have been doing things consistently, and the good, that's what I mean in terms of track record, consistent. Your purpose has not changed before the pandemic, your purpose hasn't changed post the pandemic, and also while we're in it, you know. But that is not the case for corporates, that's not the case for individuals right now, and that's why everybody needs to go back and question their reason for being.
Actually, Fatima, you're right, because Rotary has consistently been keeping updated with what's happening around us. And as soon as this pandemic took place, and later on we'll hear a bit about this from Ambassador Dr. Josephine and Anuja, because our club actually joined the district initiatives and also carried out further initiatives as a club to counter, you know, the effects of this pandemic on the livelihoods of individuals. And before we go to that, I want to ask you, what were your thoughts in the first quarter of the pandemic?
I think we were all being very optimistic, myself included, because nobody knew what this was about, you know, and we all thought, okay, it's just another flu, it's another bug, and then it's going to disappear, just like Ebola and everything else. So like, again, I said, no one prepared. But what was really sad was that even when it was announced that there is a problem, nobody went, I mean, at least with the clients that I work with, no one went and created what you call a backup plan or a recovery plan of what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to mitigate the situation? What are we going to do to make things work for us? You know, and that's why, again, I keep saying, I mean, the global world is that you have to look at people, planet, profit. But this change, it was all of a sudden became profit. I was shocked. I was seeing mattress companies creating sanitizers in Kenya. I mean, really, for crying out loud. It's like telling me that, you know, one of the milk companies also saw opportunity and said, let's get into sanitizers. So we didn't do things because we wanted to care for one another. It was like, how quickly can I ride the tide? You know, it's like a boat, different waves, you know, differently. So I think that was what was the challenge. So I think we were very myopic in the first quarter in terms of our expectations of what we really think would have happened. Also, from an economic perspective, we, you know, as people working with governments and working with corporates and economies, did not see the impact this would have had on businesses in the long term. And we were looking at very short-term gains and short-term achievements. I mean, if you're looking at sales targets, businesses were trying to see how quickly can they capitalize. One thing that I learned from this pandemic, and I try to say this to all my clients, is that one of the greatest aspects that has come out is localization. Because if you look at what happened, the first thing that happened was borders were shut, you know, whether it was land, sea, air, okay? Now, in East Africa, we're much better because East Africa is a manufacturing-based economy. Whereas if you come into West Africa, we're a 98% import-based country. Even chicken, and we import eggs, and we import everything, okay? And all of a sudden, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. And before you knew it, because nobody was able to. So it meant that now you're going to have to start sourcing and looking for local products, you know, whether it was fresh produce, whether it was manufactured products, even stuff like PPEs. So all of a sudden, everybody got into this and they were able to start doing things. So if you look at the companies that were exporting to the continent, for example, to Africa or to Kenya, what did they all do? They stopped exporting and first took care of their own needs, which means selfishness. Selfishness comes in first because you've got to think about your people. You've got to think about your nation first before you think of somebody else. And then it was only surpluses that were being sent out, okay? So we have a little extra here. You can have a bit of it. So what did that show us? That we are capable, you know, as individuals, as people, as a continent, you know, to be able to survive on our own. And that can only happen if we start working together, if we start collaborating, if we move away from this me, myself, and I. It can only work when we come in together to see that, how can I work with your organization? How can your organization work with another organization? And how can we come in together? The biggest issue for me was when people were going out to help. I know we call it, CSR, corporate social responsibility. Some people call it corporate social action. I call it cosmetic social responsibility. When you go out taking pictures to show that I gave a loaf of bread, I gave somebody a sanitizer, I gave them, bar soap to bath, you've actually insulted the person more because you've actually brought out their weaknesses in a space that didn't need to happen. There wasn't a reason why the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita talked about when the right hand gives, the left hand should not know. Yes, there are times you need to communicate this kind of things, but there was a reason to do it if you know you were going to do something consistently, with the intent to bend down and lift people and make them rise. Right now, the biggest challenge for me, and this is something that businesses are not seeing, and it's another red flag, is that if you look at right now, we talk about colonization. Colonization was already happening, and we are currently under colonization. The difference is that we're under the Chinese colonization, and it's colonization of the mindset. Because if you look at the dangle that is being, given to economies and governments, it's we will help you on your port, we will help you on your roads, we'll help you on your railway. So it's everything to do with entry and exit to a country, okay? And China is the #1 economy in terms of being able to produce at the low-cost producer, which obviously East Africa can't match, West Africa can't match. So what does that mean? They come and buy all your raw material from Africa. They're taking it, they're going to produce it at the lowest cost to first take care of themselves, their people, and anything that comes, as a surplus is going to be sent back to you through the same points of entry and exit where they exited with your raw material. They're coming back in with their finished product, and you're not going to be able to compete. So manufacturers need to sit and really take a close think of what is going to happen. And now with this pandemic and this COVID happening, our time to reaction in terms of innovation, in terms of R&D on the continent is very slow. So you're going to have people from, the Asian markets and the European markets coming in ready to take over the market. So again, I'm questioning, did we or are we ready? No, we're not. We haven't really we're looking at things in piecemeal, and then we get into a situation of crisis, and then all of a sudden we start waking up and thinking.
Actually, Fatima, that is quite thought-provoking, because what you've mentioned here is what steps some countries have started taking to first fulfill the requirements within, and that's actually the case, even with organizations and families, naturally. But this brings me to the next question. It's quite related. But being a marketer, what do you feel has been done by organizations to support humanity?
Nothing. In all honesty, that is the truth. Nothing. Everything that was done from a very selfish perspective of how quickly can I get out my brand there. Let me quickly get onto the bandwagon to show that we've supported, we're helping. I was livid. I mean, recently I was speaking at an event and I was talking about the recent Black Friday. I mean, what is this Black Friday? People are dying. Families have lost income. Families have lost jobs. People don't know where school fees is going to come for next year. People don't know where their rent is going to come from. And you're coming out and telling people, hey, listen, I have a coffee machine that used to be at 3,000 shillings. Quickly grab it for, 400 bob. Do you really think that is of importance right now? You're going and telling people we're selling garden chairs right now. Quickly, hey, I've got a piece of jewelry. What is the need of the hour? The first question to marketers also is that, wait a second, if you could have done this on one particular day of a Friday created by some human somewhere, why can't you have done it on any other day of the month in this last 8 months of the pandemic? It clearly shows there is an opportunity. Yes, businesses need to survive. Businesses need to create profit, but then profit must go back and be plowed back to create good. So I don't think marketers have done good enough. And marketing right now is not about just, hey, this is a brand, it's going to, it's going to take care of your quench. Hey, listen, I'm selling you the best books, like, or leather sofas or whatever. It's about human connection. You have to come and tell me what need I have currently.
5, 10 bananas.
So that's what we need to know, is what are you coming to address? So I don't think marketers right now have been able to address the issues of human connection. The first purpose right now is, how can I connect with you as a human? As a marketer right now, we know that the bottom of the pyramid are the most hit. And please excuse me and forgive me if anybody is not going to be okay with what I'm going to say right now. If we talk about the start of the pandemic, I was actually sitting and talking at certain webinars when I said this is a disease by the rich, for the rich, and it's the rich that are suffering. Because tell me, we were running, trying to buy every toilet paper, every sanitizer that was out there. Can you tell me who from Kibera walks into a supermarket, or to Carrefour, or to, Okanakumat doesn't exist, or Tuskys or Nevas, to go and buy toilet paper? So who was trying to protect themselves? It was the rich from the rich, because they're the only ones that can go in and afford to buy all the frozen chicken and buy everything else that they needed to be able to protect themselves for the lockdown. But the common man is basically buying his tea leaves, and he doesn't know where the next loaf of bread is going to come from, because it's going to be fresh. Okay, so now as marketers, have we looked at the opportunity of what the bottom of the pyramid presents? Because they are now in a situation, they're no longer going to be able to afford to buy, your 1 kg. They're not able to afford to buy 1 liter of whatever. What is it that they need right now? It's not about wants. As marketers, we need to define also the difference between what I want and what I need. A want is a greed. A want is a luxury. A need is a necessity. So we need to go to the hierarchy of needs, the Maslow hierarchy of needs, if you know about that. And let's understand, what is it that in each one of you in your businesses, what is it that you can do right now that will not only make you profit, but will also be able to bring you people from the bottom of the pyramid through loyalty and being able to address the demands and the needs that they have. So I think marketers, I just spoke about this last week, and it's something that we're now literally having to take a look at, and we need to go back and redefine the reason for our brands to exist, their purpose, and even as an organization.
So Fatima, being a guru in marketing, you've explained to us where the marketers have failed, and you've noticed where there's need for improvement, especially in such situations where, we are in a full-blown pandemic, and yet the marketers are focused on just the regular rigmarole. I wanted to ask you something related to what you've just said. You've talked about marketers, but do you feel there is more that can be done for one another, one-on-one?
Of course. Look, even marketing is a profession. Marketing is a profession just like accounting, like legal, like everything else. But what is the one common factor in each one of them? It's about humans, right? And that's why I said human connection is crucial. Right now, I need to know that what is your pain point. Even as a marketer, when you come up with a brand, when you come up with an idea, it comes from a premise of what is the pain the other person is going through, what is the pain the other person is feeling. And then you come up with something to address that, whether it's the pharmaceutical industry, whether it's whatever. So in the same way, what is your pain, Ritesh? How can I come and help you? How can I hold your hand in this journey? Sometimes it's just telling the person, listen, I just want to talk to you. I just want to reach out. If you look at, again, this is something that I'm talking about, that in this pandemic, and that's why I call it the fallacy, of consumerism, or whatever else you want to put out there. We keep talking about we're a conservative nation, we're conservative people, when it comes to dress code, we're not conservative. When it comes to how we drink and how we smoke, we're not conservative. I've been seeing things on some of the internet sites in Kenya. People are partying like there's no COVID, like there's no issue, and it means that we don't care for the other person. Okay, so we then even run away from situations and we bury our heads in the sand like ostriches to say that this is not my issue. Tell me any corporate organization right now, if you can name both local or international in Kenya, for example, and I'm talking about even here in Ghana, that has actually addressed issues, for example, during this COVID period of domestic violence, that has put out an advert or a campaign to say, we know that there is a lot of domestic violence happening during this lockdown period, XYZ, we're here to support you and tell you guys, don't do this. Who has come in and talked about rape? Who has come in and even discussed mental health, which has been the biggest issue that people have been going through, whether it's the first liners, whether it's families. We're just busy trying to sell. We're still trying to see how we can quickly get into your wallet and sell something to you. So yes, as humans, that's where it has to start. We have to start with, what is your ask? How can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I support you? This is what we need to look at.
So Fatima, I want to ask you something very personal now. No, this is a very personal question, and it's going to actually help us to see what it is like for someone who's actually suffering from COVID. You contracted COVID.
Yeah.
And would you like to tell us something about this?
Wow. Okay. So from day one, when they announced about COVID and all that, I was very, very careful. I mean, I went to the extent, I think I even became, OCD on that point, where by rubbing alcohol, my door handles were whatever, my fridges, my tabletops, everything, because it was a paranoia. It was like, when the first HIV came out, very well, nobody knows, and every day you learn something new. So I was fully prepared, had everything ready in the house, azithromycin, vitamin C, which I was taking every day, had vitamin D and zinc ready, just in case, but never thought I would get it, because I was always very careful. Obviously, I had underlying health issues like blood pressure. My daughter's asthmatic, so I was even extra careful. And out of the blue, I mean, a friend came to drop a parcel, and I said, would you like to have a cup of tea? And she was like, yes, sure. And I gave her a cup of tea. I'm not sure it was at the point of taking the cup to take it to the kitchen or what. That was on a Sunday. Monday morning, I got a call from her, and she says, hey, listen, I just need to tell you, a friend who had come over to mine last week on Thursday has just called me this morning and said she's turned out positive for COVID. And because you're the only other person I met, I thought I need to tell you. So I said, thank you very much. And this is what I love, transparency and honesty. Okay, so I kept it in the back of my mind that looks okay. So in terms of contact tracing, I happen to have been the next person she has met because of who she met. Come Friday, all of a sudden I couldn't smell. I didn't have any symptoms that COVID patients have had, well, for most, in terms of fever or sweating or body aches, none of that. It was just a loss of sense and smell. And when I mean a loss of sense and smell, I mean 100%. I could not smell. I could not taste. It took a good 6 to 8 weeks for it to come back. Obviously, as soon as that happened on the weekend, I went in for a test and quickly then went into quarantine. It was very taxing. It was very painful. It was very mentally torturing, because I am not only, a workaholic, I also cook breakfast, lunch, dinner every single day. It is not something I leave to the maids. This is something that I personally do. I have a daughter, I have a dog to take care of. I mean, my daughter slipped through a note to say, Mama, we miss you. We can't continue living on eggs. Please get well soon, because the dog and I really need you. I had the maids calling me on phone every day, telling me, Mama, what can we cook? So I'd have to tell them on FaceTime. But for me, what was important or even scary was that in that period of being locked in a four-walled room with your, only visit is to the bathroom and toilet. I think the only time I had peace was when I would go and shower, because somehow it made me feel like I was alive. But I did go through taxing time in there, because I started realizing I was not prepared. I was not prepared that, God forbid, if anything was to happen right now, if I needed to get onto a ventilator, which ambulance am I calling? Because I'm in a country where we don't have facilities like Kenya. I don't know who to call. There's going to be no hospital that's going to admit me. What do I do? And then it was interesting. Outside my room, I have lights that are under the roof. And all of a sudden, I noticed there was this light that was hanging, by the cord. It had fallen out, and I don't know when that happened. And I was like, wow, okay. And then it started raining, and then it would stop, and I kept looking at that light, and I said, maybe that's a sign of hope. When did that happen? Is it going to fall? Is it going to crash? Is it going to break? But look on, it's holding on to something. So I thought that was just the universe giving me a sign and saying, listen, you've got to hold on. Your time hasn't come yet. So I think what kept me going was my friends, my family. I mean, my mother cried. It was sad to see an 83-year-old woman cry on the phone because she knows what this means, and to have my friends call in and check in on me, it just made me appreciate and realize, I mean, next week I'm turning 48. And if there's one thing that I just want is to continue to be grateful for having life. But the essence of this whole thing is that you don't take COVID seriously until it happens to somebody you know. And I went publicly to share this because I wanted people to know that yes, you're Fatima, me, the bubbly person. Here I am, I got it. And more so to stop the stigmatization, because I know when HIV came in, people were stigmatizing people. They didn't want to be around them. They didn't want to touch them. But I wanted people to know you don't get HIV because you are promiscuous. Their mothers were passed it to their children. There's some people who got infected, through injections. There's things that happen. So let's not go labeling people, And it's the same thing as COVID. It's not because you were irresponsible or you didn't care or you were partying too much or whatever for you to contract it. I got it just because somebody came to drop a parcel.
Fatima, we are grateful to God that you are well and safe, and we'll continue to pray for your family. And you've shared this with us.
I'm not a statistic. That's what I'm really, really happy for. I'm not a statistic of somebody who died. It might have been a Kenyan who died in Ghana, foreigner died in Ghana, or total number of cases of people who died. So I'm very happy for that. I'm very, very grateful.
Wow. But Fatima, in all honesty, the fact what you've shared with us here is that it is very, very serious. It's very, very real. And related now to this and to the talk we've had earlier with the previous questions, could you tell me, what do you think is the new normal? And what's the new normal going to look like henceforth?
We need to stop using this word new normal. There's no new normal. It's just the next phase of normal. It's like getting used to drinking hot water lemon. You never used to drink it before. You now drink it. It's not a new normal. It's just the next phase of now what you're going to do. And then you get to a certain age and then you're going to decide it's whiskey and tequila in the morning. I don't know. So it's just moving with the times. What I think is going to happen, obviously first from the digital perspective, digital is taking over. AI is taking over. If we're not looking at that kind of space, if we're not looking at how we can connect with people, and it's such a two-edged sword that right now we're talking about human connections and how we need to connect with people more, and we need to engage with people as human to human, and then at the same time we're introducing this robotic elements that are coming in and digital where we're not going to be talking and touching, so that it's impersonal. So we need to find a way of how then to bring empathy through our messages and to how we communicate with people. I do not want to see adverts that go out there. Like, I know Christmas is coming. It'll be very painful if we harp on Christmas and start telling people Christmas time is here and we're all here to celebrate. Some people are not actually celebrating. Some people have gone through losses. A lot of people may not even have a meal to share for Christmas because they know that next year's coming. There's going to be school fees to be paid. There's going to be rent to be paid. Some of them don't even know if their jobs are going to continue to be there. So we need to start being sensitive. So for me, if you want to use the new normal, it's actually, we're going to have to be more human, more sensitive to people's needs, people's requirements, and we've got to find a way of how we can ensure it is consistent. I don't believe in just going and teaching a person how to fish, okay? You've also got to go and show them that there is the sea, and this is how you then are able to fish. So in whatever projects we do, in whatever kind of service to humanity ideas we come up with, we've got to make sure they're sustainable, that they're able to outlive you and I, they're able to outlive the help that is being given at that point in time. We have to bend down and lift people. That being said, so while I believe humanity, the sense of connection is going to be key, I also feel that there's going to be a need for the new minimum, which is what I'm talking about. So people in businesses, people in corporates, people in governments, people who are coming up with even ideas or whatever, need to start thinking of the bottom of the pyramid. How can we start lifting those people to the next level, of giving them a reason to live? We've got to start looking at products that are affordable without having to rubbish the quality. Look at how can we be able to reach out in smaller pack sizes, and how can we be able to put people first and then profit next, because when you put people first, loyalty comes in automatically with it.
So Fatima, since you have mentioned about humanity, and this is where I see Rotary fitting in, because as you're aware of our club activities and across the district, I mean, you've been very actively viewing all the posts which I've been making on our club activities and beyond, and also you're aware of the general activities happening in the region, because you're friends with past district governor Sharmila and all, who have been posting from Uganda and all. So tell me, since you're already aware of all this, but what do you think, in what way do you think as Rotary can we rise up even further in lifting humanity?
Absolutely. I mean, Ritesh, I spoke about this at your Rotary conference in Tanzania. I think it was late last year or early last year. I mean, you look at the icon of your Rotary club, and I noticed two things in there. And I'm not even a Rotarian. And the first was the clog is supposed to, I mean, with a little bit I know from engineering, is that it's supposed to help in terms of creating movement and motion and moving forward, okay? And if one tooth breaks, then that's it, you can't move. And you as Rotarians across the globe are each one a part of a different clog. Even if you look at your clock, if you take off the back part, there's a clog. That's what helps time to happen, to move, and if you look very clearly in there, you will also see a keyhole, which means that Rotary is the key to open, is actually the keyhole to what is out there and that can be done. I love the stuff that you guys have been doing in terms of education. I've seen what you guys are doing in terms of hospitals. I mean, what you guys did with kicking polio out, you've done great stuff. My ask of Rotary now is to take it to the next level and start getting people to be accountable, to get organizations that you partner to be accountable for what they're doing. To take yourself to the next level, to now become the voice that demands, that asks. It's not about charity anymore. It's to start saying that whoever we engage with, you need to show us, I mean, it's like the UN, before you become a UN member or a part of their charter or anything else, there's certain guidelines that you've got to fit, and that needs to happen with Rotary as well, because it's not just about saying so-and-so is willing to give us a donation of $1 million, do their ethos, do their values tie in with what Rotary is doing? Does it tie in with your 4 pillars of truth? You need to ensure that you now start getting people that are accountable. You need to start questioning that. And also then getting to be the benchmark for people to say, hey, listen, if I want to be a part of this, it's not about black money, white money, or whatever it is. We need to know that there are certain definitions of what will allow us to be, a partner with Rotary. And then for you to start questioning when you see things that are not being done right. There's no point if you're going to help in education in a certain area, for example, if you're doing something in Kariobangi or Komarok, and then all of a sudden you see a corporate in that area doing something that is not right. I think Rotary needs to take up and start becoming a voice for the voiceless.
This is very insightful, especially given the fact that the audience we have today include past presidents of international clubs. We have our country chair Saum. We have district representatives who will also definitely take this advice into heart and into consideration. And with this, I would like now to open the floor to some questions. What we are going to do is we'll take 1 or 2 questions at this point, and thereafter I will request past President Kamal to give a vote of thanks officially. And thereafter, if it's okay with you, Fatima, can we stay on a bit longer once we officially close the meeting?
Sure.
Thank you so much. I believe the first set of questions we had were from Anuja.
Okay, sorry, I don't, I
Hi.
haven't.
Hello. Hi, Fatima. I haven't. Hello. Hi, Fatima. It's Anuja. I'm a Rotarian and also worked with the district. And my specialism is actually CSR in India and Kenya. So thank you so much for your presentation. It was very passionate and very informative of your perspective and your position. And I can see that, you know, you've got a lot of experience. There are things that I would like to challenge or just discuss with you, and there are three areas. There are lots of challenges actually, but I'll capitalize on three, I think. One, you know, you suggested that business, when I think it was the second or third question Ritesh asked you about what you think business has done, you know, for the world, and you said nothing. And one of the reasons why I actually focused on India and Kenya for my PhD was because I saw the emergence of economic wealth and trickle down to the pyramid since the last 3 decades. And the statistics we have from the World Bank and etc. also substantiate that eradication of poverty in Asia particularly has been really successful. You know, we're talking about 10% in the beginning of the century and then moving into the 20% eradication rate. Africa is a problem and we know that, but I advocate in Africa for business because I can see the trend moving in the same direction. So I'd like to know what your thoughts on that is. And then I've had this debate with many people about advertising what we do for social good. And I did this project with the district to distribute food all across the country. And in the beginning, the district leaders said, why food, Anuja? And I said, it's really important because that's where people their need is greatest. And I advertised it as much as I possibly could. And because of that, and the accountability and the transparency of our processes, we raised 19 million shillings and we fed 66,000 people within 3 months. It couldn't have been done had we not advertised. So as a marketer expert, I'm surprised that you suggest that any advertising the Rotary or any community or charity would do would be tantamount to sort of advertising the poverty or an aggrandizement of ourselves. I find that problematic. And then the third thing was, and this is a positive note, I heard you mention that you are an empath. And I was wondering whether you thought that this age of Aquarius that we're supposed to be moving into next week, I think it is going to bring any profound difference to our thinking and our evolution. And I'll leave it with that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Anuja. I've actually been following the stuff that you've been doing. So I think it's a matter of clarification, or you probably might have not been very clear in what I said. So I'll take the second question first. When I was referencing to advertising, I wasn't referencing to advertising in terms of the kind of stuff that, you know, either Rotary or social organizations are doing, because that's what your role is. Your role is to impact, and you're already doing that. I was referring to corporates and marketers and brands that were doing it intentionally to get mileage. And that's what I call cosmetic social responsibility. And I have cases on that. I mean, several cases that I've actually taken up with the organizations directly, because if you go out donating some sodas and you go and donate a bag of rice, for example, of a brand, and you come and take a picture and say, okay, we've done that. What have you done after that? These were the one-offs that people were doing. Secondly, what I meant again from an advertising perspective is that if you looked at the adverts that were being done, I'll give an example like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola stopped advertising during this period, and they used 1.9 million USD to be able to take that money away from TV, radio, and print, and to go and put it straight into the homes that needed it, into the slums and the areas that needed it. So for me, that is what was supposed to be done. But if you looked at a lot of the corporates, that wasn't the following. I was following it very clearly in terms of what was happening. So I'm not referencing in terms of, giving people a meal. That's the same thing I did here in Ghana individually, in my capacity. So it was not about it, because that was the need of the hour. I'm talking about advertising that was going on into TVs, radios, and print. For example, right now, I'm calling out all the media houses in Kenya, for example, and not only them, across the continent. If you go in and have to pay for airtime, I mean, right now you want to buy a newspaper advert full page, it's costing you over 800 to 2 million shillings. But please explain to me, where is that profit going? Do you see, I mean, I don't want to call them media houses right now by name, but do you see them, apart from coming in and running media and covering social media events, even to get them to cover a social media, they want to be paid. They are not passing that on. Okay, and that's why I'm questioning the advertising of it. Yes, you have to, and that's why I did say also in my conversation, there are going to be situations where you do need to show what you're doing so that people can buy into it, can understand it, can appreciate it. So I need to clarify that part. My core area was purely on advertising in terms of the marketing front and corporates and organizations. In terms of the first question, I maintain the aspect of have businesses, and I'm talking specifically to this period, when, I mean, the good is the new cool. And I would love people to read that book. It's an amazing book. The good is the new cool is that everything we do has got to be about good, okay? And I continue to maintain that have they done anything? Yes, the numbers can show, statistics may have shown, we are doing great. Nobody's questioning that. I am talking about it from a sustainability perspective. We haven't really gone out and said, okay, listen, you know what? I mean, I can tell you, for example, I'm sitting in the meeting 2 weeks ago, somebody wants to run a promotion, and in that promotion, they want to give 3 cars as the first prize. They want to give some TVs in there as prizes, for crying out loud. Do we really think a consumer at this point in time, or somebody that's going through challenges, really needs a car? How are they going to finance it? How are they going to pay for the fuels? This person who might not even have a job. And then somebody might just come and say, oh, it's because we can sell it. Or, why didn't we think and say, wait a second, why don't we do something where we are going to say we're going to give 10 people university fees, or we're going to be able to take care of the school fees for five kids. It's about the need. So that's what I'm referring to when I say, have they done something? No, because they have not revisited their purpose. The purpose right now is about, achieving loyalty and creating the stickiness to the people who are buying from them, rather than saying that, what is it that we can do to make sure that we're reaching out to people based on their needs right now? There are people who had hospital bills to pay. There are people that were going through mental stress. There was stuff that was happening that people needed for funeral expenses. We haven't reached out, even as corporates, within organizations for their own staff. So I'm talking from that perspective, not in terms of singular events, like example, Coca-Cola having done something. I honestly feel that there was so much more that could have been done, but focusing it into a purpose and keeping away the element of profit being the priority in it. In terms of the, I can't remember, the third one was, the age of, I think there's positivity coming in. As long as we put people first, I think there's going to be a shift. I think there's going to be a change. It is happening, because with the second wave also happening, with this whole thing of the Asian era of the Aquarius coming in, whatever else we want to call it, I think it's beginning to hit home. I begin to believe that, I mean, I open my Facebook every single day, and every single day I'm just seeing somebody putting up a post of someone they've lost. It wasn't like this a month ago. It wasn't like this 2 weeks ago. I think it was just 4 days ago, I saw a friend in Kenya who passed away, and his mother passed away, both son and mother, and the wife is in hospital and his father is in hospital, a family of 4. So reality is beginning to hit. So I think now there's going to be a shift, and I think, people are going to start having to connect from within, and I think that is slowly happening, where people are now prioritizing themselves. Obviously, we have the millennials who need a talking to, and those that want to live life at large and say life is for living. But I think there is positivity coming through. But again, it's all going to be based on how do we align with our purpose. I hope I've been able to address your questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. It was very extensive. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I'll request Ambassador Josephine has a question. I will request her to ask the question, and thereafter we will immediately go towards the vote of thanks and the closing, and thereafter we can stay back and continue with some questions and answers. Is that okay?
Thank you, President Ritesh. I want to thank Fatima for a very, very inspiring and thought-provoking presentation. And I just want to speak a little bit on an example of partnership for public purpose. That's a different way of understanding the acronym PPP. And I want to speak about some of the work that we were involved in as Rotary in Kenya, in extension to what Anuj has just referred to, but work that we did with a group called the National Business Compact Coalition. The NBCC is part of what the UN would of course call the Business Compact at the UN. And its mandate really is to look at how businesses come together for the purpose of sustainability and addressing the UN SDGs. But in Kenya, during the COVID pandemic's first wave, and even now, private sector partners came together, Unilever and others such as Reckitt Benckiser, Cousins, along with organizations such as the UN SDG Office, AMREF, and Rotary, and smaller NGOs at community level. And in coming together, they were able to look at how do we put in place hand washing stations up to community level, but do this by using businesses such as Copia and Jumia, those are names that we know from here, and ensure that we put the hand washing stations outside a kiosk, outside the Mama Mboga's business, so that these businesses actually benefit from the presence of a public health intervention that would involve, of course, the business owner, not necessarily making it impossible for them to run business, but giving them the support to run it with a small mobile phone, with some bundles, and therefore allow them at the bottom of the pyramid to keep active during the COVID pandemic. Another thing is that this same team got together at national level, and businesses that would otherwise compete came together in a partnership for public purpose. And we were able to change the discussion at that table so that we put aside the profit motive and spoke together about ensuring the health and welfare of Kenyans. So I just wanted to share that. And I just wanted to say that apart from building back better as a national ethic or as a global ethic, we need to build back green. We need to build back green. We need to look at what is the future for young people now going forward. How do we now utilize the fact that now we're more online in behavior, apparently a little less carbon footprint too, but how do we use these as opportunities to create a green economy and green jobs for the whole of humanity going forward? So I just want to say thank you very much. We enjoyed your very thought-provoking and also personal experience shared. We look forward to engaging with you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. It's an honor to even be on the same platform with you. I mean, I follow you and I've been always listening in on engagements that you've been in. You rightly said I have been following. In fact, 2 of my clients are part of the people that supported the NBCCA. I was part of the team that worked on that. My concern now on evaluation with the same 2 clients recently is that what have they done in terms of follow-up? And that is where I realized most of them have failed. It was, they have not been able to now go in. I mean, we're not able to evaluate how many of the stations that they gave are still existing, how many of them are, because some of them were even giving, free sanitizers and soaps with part of it. How many of them now are continuing? I mean, there's just no track. It was done and most of them have forgotten about it. So we've gone back and said, okay, guys, we need to continue. This is why I talk about sustainability. And saying it's crucial. Organizations like Unilever, I love them. You know why? Because it's embedded in their purpose. Wanting to help, wanting to change, and like you're talking about, whether it's plastic, it's about green movement. It is part of the purpose. This is stuff that companies like Bidco looking at stuff, things like Nescafe, Nestle, and all that are looking at. My challenge with most now is coming in terms of keeping track and ensuring that it is sustainable, and we're monitoring, because we still need to wash our hands. How many of those things are currently running and existing? So I have had, at least with 2 of the clients who are part of that project, they've not been able to put the numbers or have people on the ground that are really monitoring it, because they've moved to the next project. It is happening, they believe it's being taken care of, but that's not what's happening. But yes, I am very aware of that. And like I said, Rotary has done some great stuff, and I think that's the reason I continue to be a support even in Ghana with Rotary. I just feel it now needs to move to the next level, to have your voices heard, because I think the only time, people who know Rotary will know that Rotary is doing X, Y, Z, just like stuff that we get to know when I see Ritesh, tagging me on stuff, or if Carol Kutai will tag me on stuff. But I think it now needs to go to, you guys have the power, you have the network. You've got 1.6 million, if I'm not wrong. That was the last number of membership, that you have. I think, I sit on the Angels forum with Dr. Tina, who's on the forum, who I believe you also know, for the World Business Angel Forum. And these are the kind of platforms that I believe that Rotary now needs to get up to have a voice and be able to start, it's not pulling away, but making people accountable, and being able to follow up and check and say, and we're only going to partner people that, are part of this, because now organizations and corporates are looking for a rubber stamp. They want to be able to be given the stamp that, yes, we are doing good. And it's always important to have a third person coming in to check in and say, yes, you are actually towing the line. Because, what I might think that I'm doing right may not be necessarily what is right. So that's where I feel that Rotary should be able to now take it to the next level. And I'm really honored. Thank you.
Thank you. I asked Ritesh to put us together soon. Bye now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I will now request our past president and past country chair, Kamal Sanghani, to kindly give a vote of thanks, followed by Radhika of Radio 44.
Thank you very much, President Ritesh. It's very difficult to say a word of thanks to Fatima. One, I've known her from donkey's years. I won't say the age, because that'll give my age away. Also, we worked together in JC's. She's my sister from another mother. We are confidants of each other. So it becomes very difficult, and the president, Mr. President, you put me on the spot. But what needs to be done needs to be done. Fatima is a very, very straightforward person. She's very transparent. She will call a spade a spade. But she has no malice. She has no ill feelings in her heart. And that's what has taken her to the level that she is today. Because I have seen her, she will tell her clients, excuse me, my friend, you will not make money by paying me to do this because it's not my style. And that's when the client will look at you and say, hold on, I'm paying you for this, but why are you not going to do it? But she has her own sets of rules in life, which she's followed by. And I'm not surprised that COVID ran away from her as well. Because I think COVID even realized I'm not going to get away or anywhere further with this person. The same upbringing she's giving her daughter as well. She's a single parent. I don't know if she mentioned that. And she's giving that same upbringing to the daughter. And she's not giving that difference of what a father should give or a mother should give. So once again, Fatima, you've been a great supporter of Rotary from many, many, many years. You've got good friends in Rotary. The past district governor, Joe Tin and Fatima, they've worked together in the advertising world. You are a keynote speaker at the conference when I was the district secretary 2 years ago. So thank you very much for supporting Rotary in whatever way you've done. and wherever you pushed out your hands to support us. Thank you very much, and a big thank you from Rotary Club of Nairobi. I think I could be right in saying that we're indebted to you in one way or the other. We've learned how to market ourselves. That's something that starts from the Rotary International as to how best we can increase our number from 1.2 million membership to staggering heights. But now we've learned something. We'll try. I'm sure the president will try and implement that in our club, including the charity work that we do. And also a big thank you to Radio 44 for sponsoring today's, for being our media partner, sorry, for today's talk. And Fatima, now it's not only the 17 or the 19 people who blogged in have listened to you, but I'm sure with the help of Radhika, many listeners will listen to you, learn from your expertise, if not a sentence, maybe a word that even if they implement in their work of life or their personal life, I think they will really go further. Once again, thank you very much. And thank you to all members of the Rotary Club of Nairobi for logging in today and giving the President a great support and becoming a great audience for the speaker. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Past President Kamal. And I will now request Radhika of Radio 44 to kindly say a few words for our speaker today.
All right, I'll just start by saying thank you, Fatima. It was a really interesting discussion, and thank you, Ritesh, and the entire Rotary team for planning it as well. Fatima, it was really impactful and insightful, especially coming from a media house. Of course, we can never stop advertising, but we can do it ethically. And I think that's what you've brought to the table today, that there's a difference between advertising and ethical advertising. And I'll definitely share some of the points that you've brought up with our entire team, just so we can also do our part and be a responsible media house. We also talked about partnerships, and I think that's what we have here between the Rotary Club and Radio 44. So having these discussions with not a profit motive is great, and we'll be looking forward to doing more of that, especially during COVID-19. Also, thank you so much for sharing your story about contracting COVID-19, because I totally agree with you. We don't realize that the virus can affect you and me. We think it's a third person affecting some other people. So thank you so much, and I guess that's it from Radio 44.
Thank you so much, Radhika. And on behalf of members of Rotary Club of Nairobi, we are grateful for this partnership. Thank you to yourself and to the team. And we look forward to our continued engagements. Thank you. And Fatima.
Thank you, yeah.
Fatima, what do I say? I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart. And, you know, when we were actually planning 4 months back or more, I just had this wish list that it wouldn't be complete, at least until December, if we do not have you addressing us in one capacity or the next. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just feel a little, I'm happy because with Radhika being from the media, I'm not sure if Otin is online as well, coming in from the marketing profession. So having touched, you know, two very sensitive segments of this whole industry, and you know, for Radhika to take that very positively clearly shows this is what I mean, the change will happen, you know, and this kind of engagement, because I think we all have a voice. We just have to find which part of us is willing to play that role in being that change, because Rotary is known for action. You know, your action people, you just go and get into a place and use your hands and do stuff. But we now need to have a voice. You know, somebody's got to hear it. And that's where, you know, Radio 44 and, you know, you taking this first step and everybody else, I think this is what we need to start getting involved in, and getting people to know that good is the new cool, you know. It is a new cool. It always has been, but now even more so than ever. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I'll just make a final call for any Rotarian guest who has any further questions for our guest speaker today. I see our Assistant Governor Gugi Bushane is with us. I see Dr. Manu Chandaria is with us. Dr. Chandaria, do you have any question?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to just make a remark that, look, many years back when I went to India, and I lived 8 years in India, and at that time smallpox was really relevant. Then started meningitis, then typhoid, then typhoid. I don't know. We all have to live with it. And I think that we will also get used to live with what we are seeing today. And that's only 4 items. That's what they keep on saying. Put the mask, number 2, keep a distance, and 3, wash your hands and use the sanitizers. And I don't think we can get away from it if you want to remain not to be connected by a virus. So I think that it become a normal in sense when you ask the question, okay, what will be the normal? Normal will be this for at least I'm seeing a year to come. Then I'm sure that people will forget it slowly. But we have to live with it. Thank you so much. Thank you for I saw your CV, my God. Whew. I've not been able to achieve half of it at 91.
Oh, no, Mama, that's not true. And we
Thank
hope,
you.
I hope that can be a little bit a part of your journey. There's so much that I've learned. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. President, Manu, my wife for the last 9-10 months has said, you've not kissed me, you've not hugged me. Now